yes, Optimus Prime, often regarded as heroic, as wise, as a sage leader who inspires others and is the ultimate good guy. But he's not always a good guy, and he doesn't always make the right choice. In fact, sometimes he makes terrible choices. In fact, some things that he has done are downright not heroic at all. And I'm not just talking about the Shattered Glass, because we all know he's a bit of a bad guy. I'm talking about the Optimus Prime that we all know and love, which leads us to this week's countdown as voted on by fans. The top 10 worst things / least heroic things that Optimus Prime has ever done. That's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton and lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And this is the top 10 worst things Optimus Prime has done. I also kind of gave the caveat that it could be just least heroic, right? Because somebody might have had something in mind and said, well, I don't know if it's one of the worst things, but it definitely was not heroic. So it's sort of a bit of a slash, right? Either way you cut it, these are like the top 10 like worst choices Optimus Prime made. And it could be any Optimus iteration from any fiction. To be fair, there's a number of people that tried to vote for like things that couldn't be quantified or counted and didn't really understand the question and would vote for like, you know, the existence of Netflix Optimus Prime. Like, no, that's not something he did. That's a version that you don't like. And not for, again, not for nothing, but that Optimus is fine. He's fine. He was young. He was inexperienced. He's fine. Or people will say, anything Bayverse. No, that's not a vote. That's not a vote. I asked for one action he's done that's either not heroic or downright the worst. It was very simple. One action, one thing he's done. Or maybe it's something that's happened to him. That leads us to our honorable mentions, of which there are 4. These ones had votes, did not appear on the list, allowing himself to be rebuilt into an alligator with one arm stuck off, still firing his ion blaster. Not very tactful, not very heroic. Agreed. What else did we have here? Dying in '86, just outright the fact that he died. I don't think that was necessarily a choice. That's something that happened to him, but dying in '86, yeah, that wasn't heroic. Playing basketball, which he did do. He did play basketball and was pretty darn good at it, as I recall. That was in G1. And this one really refers the most to live action versions of Optimus, when he would lead his troops into battle in heavily populated areas. Seattle, Chicago, whatever cities they were in China. Was it China they were? I think it was Age of Extinction. I think it was China they went to. I don't remember where it was now though. Hong Kong or Bangkok or I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I don't know Chinese cities. But it was a Chinese city, and it was like an apartment complex area, as I recall. And they were destroying, you know, a lot of property and presumably a lot of lives there as well. So, yes, in terms of honorable mentions, being turned into an alligator, dying in the '86 movie, playing basketball, or pursuing battle, leading his troops into heavily populated areas. None of those poor decisions or, you know, least heroic things made the actual list. We have 10 slots. There are only 10 slots available, and you know what we're going to do. We're going to do as we always do. We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Kicking us off at number 10 takes us to the terrible pages of IDW and this, when Optimus Prime annexed Earth. So, for anybody not aware, annexation occurs when one group, one state, exerts their power, I suppose, and claim sovereignty over another state, basically. And usually it's with military occupation. In this case, Optimus Prime, ironically, says that Earth is being annexed into, like, the Cybertron Council of Worlds or whatever, and that we are going to protect this planet and all the planets from the tyranny of Galvatron. The war is over. But you annexed it. Now, again, I don't know if this is more of IDW's terrible writing and terrible word choice and terrible editing, which it very much could be, or if they actually meant to use the word annex. If that's the case, then it's pretty ironic that to escape one form of tyranny, probably violent tyranny, from Galvatron, you're incorporating a different type of tyranny through annexation. Yes, I don't know if it's bad word choice, I don't know if it was just a bad Optimus Prime, or I don't know if it's just that IDW, as I suspect, really don't know what they're doing or how to write. But anyway you cut it, annexing a world without some sort of a invitation, without some sort of a democratic vote around the globe of, hey, do you want to join the Cybertronian Council of Worlds? Without even asking Earthlings if we're interested in that. Annexing Cybertron takes the number, or sorry, annexing Earth takes the number 10 slot. Number 9 sticks with IDW in another terrible idea, as all of their ideas are, and this one goes to IDW 84, which is, from my understanding, my limited understanding, this is supposed to be like a prequel to, you know, the Ark and stuff taking off and whatnot in 84. And it's supposed to be fleshed in with, like, I don't know, someone like infiltrating Megatron's inner circle and some other things that were going on Cybertron. I mean, I always understood it that the reason it was happening was because they were running out of energon and basically had to leave the planet to look for new deposits of energon on other worlds. Why you added all of this other political, nonsensical, unnecessary mumbo-jumbo, I don't know, which led to one of the most unheroic, if not evil, downright evil things that Optimus ever did, because as it was relayed to me, what happened here is that Optimus basically set up the Ark to, you know, be sent off and whatnot with the whole intention of sacrificing the Ark crew in order to stop Megatron in his tracks so that the rest of his tyranny never happens. I get the whole concept of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. I totally understand that. But rather than this coming across as some sort of a grand self-sacrifice by Optimus Prime in order to stop the greater evil of Megatron, it really just comes across as him being absolutely careless and heartless to his own troops, to his own people. A very distasteful look for the heroic Optimus Prime. Again, I can't say I'm surprised because that's IDW for you, and it takes the number 9 slot. Number 8 takes us to the live action movies, and this. That's right, it's when he basically shot Demolisher in the head. However, a lot of people said this is what tipped him off to becoming, like, you know, Maniac Optimus. And I know a lot of people say that, but I really don't know why they say that. So it actually didn't start with Demolisher. That's not Optimus's first live action kill, though that's the one that people went with. Ironically, a lot of people said when he decapitated Demolisher, but he didn't decapitate Demolisher. Actually, what happened was in 07, he decapitated Bone Crusher. So right in 07 was his first takeout of a Decepticon. In Revenge of the Fallen, he did shoot Bone Crusher in the head. No, Demolisher in the head. But then he also took out Grindor by, like, ripping his face off. And of course, the Fallen he took out in his own vicious way. But taking out Demolisher, specifically with the justification that a lot of people said this is what tipped us off with Maniac Prime, right? This was the first action that tipped off live action Maniac Prime. Whether you believe that or not, whether you agree with it or not, enough fans did that it took the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, we have the War for Cybertron Netflix trilogy, and that time that Optimus Prime begged Megatron for his life. I'm not gonna lie, I can't really speak to this. I have gone back, I have read the synopsises of the stories. I've looked at screen caps and, like, some little clips and stuff again. I haven't had the time to go back and rewatch the whole series. I can't find any reference to him begging for his life, and I don't remember it happening. I'm not going to say it didn't, because obviously enough fans remember it and voted for it that it took the number 7 slot. But I have no recollection of Optimus begging Megatron for his life in that series at all. Not going to say it didn't happen, but I can't find any evidence to support it. That said, I also don't know really why a lot of people have pointed that out as a weakness. I always took his War for Cybertron, like, missteps, or like when he would lose his temper, or when he would make a bad call, as deliberately written that way, because let's remember, according to the setup for that series, Like, this is a brand new war. Like, Optimus is very young and inexperienced. Like, he's not the sage, wise Optimus we know. He's a leader with no experience under his belt. You can't expect him to be the Optimus that we know when he's not the Optimus that we know, right? Nevertheless, apparently he did beg for his life for Megatron at some point, which I don't think he would do once he's become experienced, because we all know Megatron has no mercy. But at the time, he probably thought, hey, Megatron can be reasoned with, right? Ever the optimist, Optimus Prime, led to him begging for his life, apparently, in the War for Cybertron trilogy, and it takes the number 7 slot. Sticking with the War for Cybertron trilogy now for number 6, we have the simple fact that he threw the Allspark through a time portal or a space bridge or whatever it was to get it off-world. Seemed reckless, seemed random. Where did it go? Out into time and space? Nobody knew! However, again, I don't know if he had another choice. I think it was a bad call too. I agree with the fans on this one for sure. I don't know what the alternative was though, because in story, in fiction, my understanding was that Shockwave had determined that the Allspark was real and had plans to basically obtain it, steal it, take it, whatever you want to do, and use it to reformat all of the Autobots into basically a mindless drone of Decepticon army. So the choice came down to, does Optimus Prime, and the Autobots I suppose, allow that to happen, or do you send the Allspark off-world, and while that's, you know, kind of a world-ending thing, maybe it's the safer alternative. I always also took it that in any fiction, because there's a lot of fictions where the Allspark goes off-world, my take has always been that when it's not in close proximity or when it's not secured in the well of Allsparks, it's basically inert and therefore powerless, right? I don't think it can just be used in space. I don't think it can just magically be opened. I think it needs to be in concert and in contact with the well and probably the Matrix. I could be wrong about that. That's an assumption that I'm making in fiction that might be totally inaccurate. I don't know if the Autobots in fiction had the ability to actually just guard the Allspark and keep it safe, because again, my understanding in that show is that the Autobots are reduced to kind of just a resistance force rather than a full-on army compared to the overwhelming and well-organized forces of the Decepticons. I've always sort of presumed that it was a desperate last-ditch attempt by Optimus Prime to ensure that the entire planet doesn't come under Decepticon rule. Was it the right call? No. Was it the call of an inexperienced leader? Yes. Is it one of Optimus's worst things that he does? Yeah, probably. Randomly throwing the thing that makes life off of your planet under any circumstances seems kind of careless, and it takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever-coveted, ever-popular, and today, probably the weirdest halfway mark. And at the halfway mark we go to Marvel Comics. I believe that this actually happened in the UK continuity when Megatron and Optimus are in a video game, basically, and they fight and Optimus wins, but he had to kill characters in the video game, and he sees that as real life, and out in the real world, if I had done that, I would be breaking the Autobots' most sacred vow of not harming life. I can't do it. And he tells this programmer, whose name I can't remember, to press the button and destroy his body. I'm pretty sure though that his memories and his mind and his essence had been downloaded into a floppy disk or something. But Optimus deciding to end his own corporeal existence by having his own body destroyed because he killed fictional characters in a video game to stop the very real threat of Megatron. What a convoluted story. What a bad plot idea that concludes with Optimus wanting his own self-destruction because he killed characters in a video game. Oh, Optimus. Yeah, taking yourself out because of your actions in a video game? That takes the number 5 slot. At number 4, we have one that I think is very common. It was very popular. It's when Optimus Prime just didn't take out Megatron. Why didn't you kill him in the 86 movie? He's there begging for his life. Before Hot Rod ever gets involved, before Megatron can jump for his blaster, when he's begging for mercy, a lot of people say, why didn't you just take him out? Now, some people, detractors of that, would say he was begging for mercy. Optimus Prime is merciful. He's a hero. He wanted to see the good of Megatron, and that's why he didn't do it. I don't know which side it is, but a lot of people, and not for nothing, a lot of people said there have been multiple times that Optimus has let Megatron get away when he should have taken him out and ended the war. Multiple times when, you know what, Optimus should have made the hard call. But of all those times, the one that stands out the most is when he didn't take the shot in the 86 movie. Not taking out Megatron when you've had the opportunity takes the number 4 slot. Number 3 is an interesting one because there's a weird dichotomy here too. It happened in the live action movies, I believe Age of Extinction, when Optimus took out Harold Attinger, or Kelsey Grammer if you will. There's always been a rule that Optimus has had that he would never harm a human, but he harmed a human. And a lot of people see that, much like discussed earlier when Demolisher tipped off to Maniac Prime, as people like to call it. This is a time when Optimus wasn't being Optimus. He did not follow the rule of do no harm to humans. Again, I get it. Optimus is breaking the cardinal heroic rule of do no harm. But you also, at least for me, I understood it within the context of the film that humans no longer had a use for the Transformers. We don't need you anymore. We can make you. We can build you. And Optimus saw that his friends were used as science experiments and said we have lives. We are not just machines, right? I think he did it because he finally snapped. I think Optimus broke bad. I think he felt betrayed by the humans he was trying to protect. And Harold Attinger, in particular, was a representative of everything that was wrong with humanity in Optimus's eyes. Again, I'm drawing a conclusion in fiction based on where Optimus's mind probably was and his level of just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Maybe that's not it. Maybe Optimus is just mean enough, just cruel enough that he decided, I'm just going to break my own rules. I'm just going to break my own oath to not harm any humans, and I'm going to harm Harold Attinger, even if Harold probably deserved it. I know when I watched that, I actually was happy he was taken out because he was the cardinal bad guy. But that's just me. Enough fans feel like Optimus shouldn't have broken that rule that it was able to take the number 3 slot. Coming in at number 2, we sort of circle back a little bit to number 8 because it is specifically when Optimus looks at the Fallen and says, "Give me your face," and proceeds to rip the Fallen's face off and tear it apart and then rip out his spark and crush it. Now, before this happens, Optimus had already decapitated Bone Crusher. He had already shot Demolisher, and he had already torn off Grindor's face. But I don't think he did it with such a visceral hate, such a visceral rage as he did with the Fallen. Was that rage just because Optimus was tired? Was it bad writing? It could have been bad writing, especially since that film was completed during the writer's strike, so it was completed without really having a full script. So whoever did finish it probably didn't really know the character that well. There was a lot of problems with the depiction of Prime in Revenge of the Fallen, due to a lot of both in-fiction and real-life reasons. But perhaps at no point in any fiction has he been as viscerally brutal as he was when he tore off the Fallen's face, ripped out his spark chamber, and crushed it in Revenge of the Fallen. That unheroic act, that level of brutality takes the number 2 slot. And now, very tippy top number 1. And number 1 sticks with live action Optimus and this. That's right, this is kind of a 2-for-1 really. At the end, I guess, of Dark of the Moon. We already know that thanks to Bone Crusher, thanks to Grindor, thanks to the Fallen, Optimus in the live action movies had no qualms about taking out a Decepticon if he had to. Would he ever take out an Autobot? Well, that leads us to Dark of the Moon, because toward the end of that, he ends up basically taking out Megatron after Megatron saved his life. Long story short, Carly kind of says, hey, Sentinel is going to look to take your role as leader of the Decepticons, and Megatron's like, no, he ain't. So he ends up stopping Sentinel from killing Optimus, and then offers Optimus a peace treaty, or a truce at least, to which Optimus basically says, yeah, no thanks, and then he tears off Megatron's head. He takes Megatron's rifle and uses it then to kill his mentor, the Autobot Sentinel Prime, who in Optimus's mind, in Optimus's words, had lost his way. Optimus there had a lot of opportunities to show mercy and chose not to. Now here's why I find number 1 very interesting, because that was pretty brutal, I'm not going to lie. A lot of people have said, well, why would Optimus believe a truce from Megatron? He's had so many opportunities to kill Megatron in the past and never taken him. It was time to do it and end the war. So there are people who support that he did that. Sentinel was so lost and had such little disregard for humans and human life that he was willing to destroy them in order to secure Cybertron. Some people have also said that Optimus allowing Bumblebee to take out the, what was it, the pillars or what, seeds or whatever they were, that were used to pillars to bring it in and like thereby kind of implode Cybertron, like that was wrong. There's a lot of wrong that was done at the end of that film. As somebody who's an Earthling, I'm glad that Cybertron didn't come through. But, and I get both sides of the story. I understand why people would say, that's not the Optimus we know. He was just so brutal. But I also understand the people that would say, look, Optimus has put up with so much for so long that finally it was time for him to end this war and end this battle once and for all. Although in the world of the Transformers, there's probably never ever a once and for all end to the battle. Anyway you cut it, Dark of the Moon Optimus taking out both his mortal enemy with Megatron and his mentor with Sentinel takes the #1 slot. And there you go, 10-1 once again, and other ones that had votes but did not make it. In the Energon universe, if you've been reading that, basically leaving Cliffjumper and Jazz behind. Treating Cosmos badly. I don't remember him treating Cosmos badly, but okay, sure, whatever. Let's see. Not saving a falling helicopter in the 07 film. Apparently there's a slow motion scene where Optimus is shown like running slow motion or something and a helicopter is crashing behind him. And like Optimus doesn't even try to rescue the people in it. When he says in the 07 movie, push the cube into my chest if you have to. Not knowing what sort of destructive nature that was going to have. Being punked by Grapple and Hoist. Whenever he removes his faceplate, that's a bad thing because his face is always rough to look at. What else do we have here? Little remorse for Jazz's death in the 07 movie. Doomed his race in Dark of the Moon by stopping Cybertron coming through. I mentioned that. Leaving Skids to die in Marvel, apparently. Again, another, this time the live action Allspark into space. Being a pre-war brat. Trying to pawn off leadership in the rebooted IDW universe. Why don't we just admit that IDW's ideas are always bad? They don't have any good ideas. Cybertron, Optimus Prime. Let's see. Cybertron, Optimus Prime telling his troops to not interact with the planet natives while they're trying to protect or collect the Cyber Planet keys. That just made the job more difficult. Leaving for space at the end of Age of Extinction. Did you really think you were just going to use a backpack and fly to Cybertron or fly to wherever your creators are? Did you even know where you were going? Leaving the Fembots on Cybertron. Why was Elita 1's group just left behind? In IDW, killing Galvatron and throwing his head, I think, on like the White House lawn or something. In Marvel, the issue Man of Iron, where he basically orders Jazz to vaporize another Autobot, named Navigator, I think. Using Jetfire's corpse in Revenge of the Fallen. What else do we have here? Bullying Sideswipe and giving him his backpack in the original More Than Meets the Eye show, trilogy, whatever, when the Decepticons try to leave the planet. Letting Bumblebee live. Just letting him exist. Condoning gambling in The Gambler, but the person that voted for it said he'd just come back from being a zombie. I don't think that you understand when The Gambler really happens, but okay, whatever. Just being a wet blanket, somebody you could walk over in War for Cybertron. Again, I think that's deliberate because he's an inexperienced leader. In the core, when Optimus is okay with basically the Autobots controlling the Constructicons, though I think that was sort of necessary to stop drilling into the core of Earth. Saying, I will kill you in the live action movies. Just uttering those words. Very not Optimus Prime-esque. Ripping Grindor's face off. And simply, probably the worst one, involving humans in their conflict and war. You're a military organization. You're an army. And you're bringing humans, often children, in to fight for you. Seems a little not heroic to me. Them and so many more bad choices by Optimus Prime. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, somehow, some way, each and every day you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.